Welcome to For the Love of Books, a podcast by North Lanarkshire Libraries.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the North Lanarkshire Libraries podcast For the Love of Books. My name is Chris Wilson, the E-Services Librarian, and today's episode we're going to talk all about Motherwell Library because if you haven't noticed on our social media, we're very excited about the opening of our new children's section there because it is super fantastic, and there's also lots of other new stuff going on as well that I thought we can kind of catch up on as well because it is a very exciting project that has made Motherwell Library really become a library for the 21st century. So I've managed to catch up with a number of the staff who are all working at Motherwell Library and involved in projects in some way or kind of just work there on a day-to-day basis and get their thoughts on what has changed there and how the project so far has gone, the reaction from the public, things like that sort of stuff, and a very special guest at the very end of the podcast as well, to give us their thoughts on the whole project. So we're going to hear a little bit from Rosemary Stewart, who is the project lead really for it and is the community librarian for Motherwell area, and we'll hear also from Hilary Petrie, who will talk to us a little bit about the computing side of things. She is one of our digital learning officers, and we've also got a couple of the library assistants from the area, Peter, Benassi and Kayleigh Jack as well, who can talk to us a little bit about some of the areas in there as well. And like I say, I've got a special guest at the very end for you too. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it with Rosemary, and you'll hear everyone follow on from there. Hi Rosemary, as in your role as the community librarian at Motherwell Library, you have really led the project and for the bigger refurb that's going on at the moment in Motherwell. How's that been going so far for you?
Well, this has been ongoing since August 2020, Chris. Libraries were just starting to reopen after COVID, and our roofing and stonework repair started. This was, for the main part, an external project. It did not affect ourselves or our customers hugely. The top floor was closed off and has been since, but it will reopen in an exciting new format. I'll give you some more information about that later, and I know one of my colleagues will be going into more detail as well. The re-roofing took a good year. It was subject to delays in materials, etc., which was quite commonplace during COVID. Rewire started in August 2022, and it slightly overlapped with the roofing project. Now, anyone who's had a rewire will know that, a rewire is disruptive. However, in conjunction with the contractor, we remained open to the public. The ground floor was done in 4 phases, and we provided as much selection of stock and availability of computers as space would allow at any given time. When I say 4 phases, the upper part of the ground floor was done in 2 phases, then 2 phases on the lower part of the ground floor as you come in. So it's quite disruptive. You're constantly moving stock. Nobody knows where anything is. The public and staff, nothing is where it usually is. It was very worthwhile, though. The end result is very good. It's very visible to the public when they're in the building. The lighting is much better.
Yeah,
it was more than a lighting project. I mean, it was a full rewire of what is a historic 3-storey building. They worked from the basement, which is not open to the public. It's an administrative headquarters for the library service, and they worked their way through the building. Obviously, the top floor wasn't open either, so when they were doing that, it didn't hugely bother us. But the ground floor, it did affect the operations on the ground floor. But apart from a few short closures where we had no choice but close to allow work to go on, the ground floor remained open, and we provided a service to the public the best we could in the space we had. So That was the second part. Then we had a wee bit of a breathing space, shall we say. But in the background, it looked like a breathing space to the public, but in the background, the next stage of the project was being planned.
Yeah.
The whole of the ground floor was being remodelled and recarpeted. The top floor was being transformed into a digital hub. That's still ongoing. A digital hub and makerspace, that is still ongoing, but
Yeah.
all being well later this year. Have you been upstairs, Chris, and seen it?
I haven't
No?
seen the space upstairs yet. No, whenever I was over the other day filming it, it was just the sort of main section of the library I was in, so I haven't had the chance to see that. However, whenever it does open, I do hope to get over to kind of play about with some of the new tech that Hilary will get her hands on, I'm sure.
Yes, we're really looking forward to that being complete as well, because once that's complete, that's really, the main job complete. But at the moment, the ground floor is more or less finished. It has been for a few weeks. It's completely remodelled, recarpeted. The children's section is much expanded and completely refurbed.
Yeah.
It's spacious, bright, warm and welcoming. There's new shelves, a range of furnishing suitable for all ages. So, study type tables for small children, study type tables for older children, bean bags, a nice sort of circular area which for BookBug, much more space for children's activities that we run, during the summer and such like. We've also increased our provision to public access computers. On the ground floor, there are now 15 public access computers, which does make them a lot more accessible.
Yeah.
The upper part of the ground floor, which is where most of the adult stock is, it's had a complete change as well. The shelving layout has changed, and there's a range of different type of seating. Again, this has completely changed look. It's been recarpeted. The colours are attractive. They're warm. They're inviting.
Yeah.
So the ground floor, it just doesn't look like the same library anymore.
No, it definitely doesn't.
What did you think of it?
I think it's a massive change. I really, I think, and for by far the better. It's such a lovely new space to come into, and anyone who's used the library regularly at all will instantly can see the massive change it has, the refurb so far has had in it, I think. And it's going to kind of benefit, I think, library members for a long time to come with the changes that have been made. It's really, really nice. It must be really nice now to kind of physically see the changes that the refurbs kind of made and kind of sort of been making in that space.
Yeah, 3 years is a long time to be refurbing, and on top of that, there's been a pandemic, and that meant restrictions for our services, the same as it did everywhere else. But you see the plans on paper. I've seen many plans on paper for the different elements of the job. And you kind of have to interpret them and think, how's this going to look? Is there going to be enough space between the various elements? Is the layout going to work for the public? So, we have had a lot of input into that. But at the end of the day, you do sign off these plans, but you don't really know what it's going to look like in the end, how spacious it's going to be.
You kind of, suppose you kind of have to trust the designers a little bit with
You
that
do.
and kind of hope that they're kind of doing their job in terms of what their expertise is, in terms of knowing what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, you do have to trust the designers, and the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I mean, the ground floor is totally transformed. The public have been hugely supportive of it, and we've had a lot of comments, compliments about it.
Yeah.
There's more spaces for people to sit. There's different types of seating.
Yeah.
There is traditional study tables. There's low seating and coffee tables. There is booths where two people can meet and face each other. People can plug in, and charge their laptops and phones. It's just much more comfortable, user friendly, and it's what was much needed, I think. The children's section as well is just transformed. It is much bigger. The stock is more accessible. It's well displayed. And there's just lots of space, and it's proven very popular with the public. So, did you have a good look at the route around the children's section yourself?
Yeah, I loved the children's section, and there's so many little kind of as you wander in, you kind of notice various little different parts that are just kind of wee standout moments, so that you maybe don't kind of fully kind of notice it at first, but things like the kind of sensory kind of parts on the wall and things like that sort of thing. With with the kind of like carpet bits and the kind of grass areas and the beads and things like that are on there. The kind of the display shelving and things like that on the walls really kind of stand out really well, and the kind of the book tree shelving, as well as obviously kind of the kind of bigger features as well that people will definitely notice when they come in and see them. It's such a fantastic area, and it's so well designed, and everything's kind of thought out, and it's just there for everyone to kind of really be able to enjoy and kind of experience. And it does feel like a kind of experience. It's not just kind of walking into a rack of shelves, you know. It is an experience to come into and kind of visit all the different kind of parts to it and things like that. It's nice. It's really, really well done. Well done.
Good. So, to give a bit of background, on how all this came about, the rewire and re-roof was a necessity really to keep the building in good repair. The re-roof, the results, I think are very visible. The building looks much sharper. It's really brought it back to what it should be. You can see the cupola at the top much better. The external lighting was improved, so it is floodlit in the evening. It just looks really good, and the building is more watertight now.
Which definitely was needed.
It was needed
in certain places.
The rewire and re-roof, you don't quite so much see the results as a physical refurbishment of shelving, etc. Although with the rewire you did see the lighting. So the rewire and re-roof was a physical necessity. The internal remodelling, etc., that has come about because change was needed. We needed to give more prominence to children section, children and young people and families. We were a bit cramped in there. There wasn't really enough space for activities. So it really needed a complete redesign. We wanted to relocate the PACs, that's the public access computers, so that they were accessible on the ground floor for people. And we do now have 14 public access computers on the ground floor and associated scanning and printing facilities. We changed the location of the counter as well, so it's front and centre as you come in. You know exactly where to go to get any information about our services or building. The upper part, the ground floor, it was an opportunity to remodel the adult section as well. It meant moving around stock in the ground floor, so you kind of start from scratch again. So we worked with the designers to achieve what we wanted to achieve, which was better layout, more welcoming colour schemes, and better seating and furnishing. Study space is very popular, but people have got different needs from that. Some people want a wee booth, other people want to sit at a table with others. Some people just want to sit at a coffee table and read their book. So we've tried to provide something for everybody.
Yeah.
And that kind of is the driver behind it. Well, obviously the top floor, my colleague will have spoken about, or will be speaking about, and it's been transformed into digital hub and makerspace. Now, it was very digital up there before, but there is remodelling going on up there to modernise our digital offering.
Yeah.
really extend our digital offering. We've also created some small meeting spaces, meeting rooms and closed rooms. So really looking forward to reopening that in the coming months and giving people an opportunity to basically learn new skills. So that's a major project as well, but it'll be finished too at some point.
Yeah, I think overall, I think that the changes are definitely kind of just bringing the building up to kind of the 21st century and kind of modernising the offer that we can give in a way in the building and kind of really improving it to a higher standard than what it was, which is fantastic to see that investment and to the library, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is good to see. The comments from the customers have been very positive, and that is the main thing.
Yeah.
You want to create a change that they enjoy, that they value, and it has been well received and been well worth the time and the effort that's gone into it. And there has been a lot of planning, because even when it looks as if there's not much going on, there might have been things going on in a part of the building that the public don't see. And there's obviously been a lot of planning involved in all this. So I mean, when I say it started in August 2020, that's when the first contractor arrived. But, it started before that. The planning started long before that, and it's been revised at various stages, but it's got there in the end.
Yeah, and when you get those kind of positive customer feedback that you're mentioning, that's when I guess you can start to see the plan that's kind of been worked out and put in place has kind of really worked to what we kind of hoped, and it's achieving what we wanted, because it's getting that kind of instant positive feedback from customers that are kind of coming in to use the service and things.
Yeah, it's been great, and I'm looking forward to the top floor opening.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Rosemary, for joining me and telling us a little bit more about the background of the project and what's been happening and things like that sort of stuff. And we'll hear now more from Hilary and Peter and Kayleigh, who are all kind of staff members from Motherwell as well, who'll tell us a little bit more about it as well. Hi Hilary, welcome back to our podcast again, and today I've got you along to chat a little bit about some of the changes that have happened to the computing section at Motherwell Library as part of all the refurb stuff that's been going on. So the computing section has made a kind of permanent move down from the first floor down to the ground floor as part of the refurbishment. So where can the library members now find it when they come to visit? It's quite easy to find, isn't it?
It is really easy to find, which I think is absolutely brilliant. So when you come in through the doors, you've got the main library reception counter in front of you. We're kind of round the corner from that. If you knew the library well before we refurbished it, then it's partly where the children's area was before.
Yeah.
So just in and sort of round to sort of 4 or 5 o'clock kind of turn on the wheel to you.
Yeah, you basically come in the front door, you turn basically right round on the back on yourself on the right hand side, and you'll find it there somewhere, won't you?
To be honest, come in, have a sort of look around. You're not going to miss it now.
No, it's pretty much front. It's right in the middle of all the stuff that's going on. And was there any particular reasons for that change of location down to the ground floor for the computing section?
It's one of these things that we had talked about over many years pre-COVID, and we'd always sort of said we'll do it someday whenever we get the chance to refurbish. We'll do it. And actually, when COVID hit, we also shut everything down quite quickly. But the refurbishment work that then went on with the libraries meant that there was work done on the roof, and because of that, we had to remove ourselves from the top floor entirely. And looking at how we opened up as we came back, we quickly integrated the PCs. It was just the right time to do it. We integrated some PCs in a kind of temporary way into part of the ground floor, and it meant that it was there. I think being upstairs was great, but computer use is just so integral to what libraries do now.
Yeah.
Whether that's just you coming in for a quick task to print off a label to send a package back, print things out, maybe a quick check in Facebook, a quick a job application, send a couple of emails, that kind of thing. It's just part and parcel of what libraries do, and so to actually have it there, I think really just makes it just where it should be. Where it should be, yeah. I mean, rather than you have to come up the stairs and then pick one of the rooms, the rest of it. So it was. I think the answer to your question is it was something we had talked about doing, and we just used lots of different things that have happened in the last 3 or 4 years to finally make that move, and it just works.
Yeah, and it's very good. And like you were saying, having it on the ground floor, I feel, and obviously you feel as well, but that it really integrates it really into the major part of the main library service that's on offer in the library, doesn't it? Because it really is a major section of the library now.
Yeah, I think as well, if you're not old enough, but if you go way back, in time, libraries maybe had a big reference room, or they had a really big non-fiction section. And over the years, as the internet's grown in particular, so much of that information that was published in print format is now available online.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say it's the new non-fiction section, because it's not. I think there's this place for absolutely both.
Yeah, of course.
But I think it's just part of the mix.
Yeah.
And so it is part of the main service offer. And my colleagues, I'm going to talk them up for a bit as well. I think one of the brilliant things that having the IT down in the ground floor has done as well is that it's helped remove fear of being on the computers. It allows us just like that to integrate, to seamlessly move from other areas of the library to go and do something with them. And hopefully as we get activities up and running as well, there'll be a little bit of that continues as well.
Yeah. And things like, I suppose things like whenever we do like code club type things and stuff like that, it'll be much more visibly present in the main section of the library for other people to see, other than just people who came previously maybe to use the computer section and things like that sort of stuff. So
and that's been reflected in how we've designed the space. That we've got a layout there that works, that allows us to run little code clubs or little support activities. And also helps, I think, some of our partners who work alongside us. So sort of Roots to Work and other employment agency people, groups who are helping people get back into work and working on the computers beside them. It's a lot better set up than what we've ever had for that as well.
Yeah. And so if the computers aren't going to be upstairs, once it's all complete, what is actually going to be up there? Is there any chance of a wee sneak peek of what might be happening upstairs? Can I push your arm, twist your arm a little bit?
Twist my arm a wee bit? Well, let's not give everything. Well, yeah, okay. Since it's you and the listeners to the podcast, I'll let some of the cat out of the bag. Anybody who knew Motherwell Library will know that we had 3 rooms upstairs. We still have 3 rooms upstairs, but they are all repurposed. So one of the rooms, which was the room that the majority of people would have used in the past, which had sort of 16 computers in it, we've had 2 small meeting rooms added in there. So that takes up half of the room, and that room's going to allow us to have people come in, book that meeting space, use it. We can use it for little groups and little activities and so on. So those are there, and the other half of the room I'm kind of excited about, actually, because it's quite a free space, but it's going to allow us to bring sort of groups back and working with IT. But it's there's a bigger kind of flexible meeting space as well. So the whole plan upstairs has generally been about flexibility.
Yeah.
Because things have changed and things change fast.
Yeah.
So it's giving us that. So that's kind of one room, and I'm looking forward to getting some computer support groups and activities and things up and running in the month to come. We're not quite there yet because there's still some work ongoing. The work that's still to be done is the one that really excites me. And that's what was our big teaching room is going to become an immersive space. So
Wow.
partnered up with BT Vision, and we're bringing in it's an immersive room. It's a wee bit like being able to put on a VR headset but to share the experience with other people.
Ooh.
And so we're not there yet with that one. There's well, basically that room's still pretty much a shell. There's still a lot of stuff about the actual build has to happen, but I'm really looking forward to that. And
Yeah.
I'm floating lots of ideas around at the moment about the sorts of things we can do with it. So there's been a similar facility in Muirfields Community Centre in Cumbernauld that some of the schools initially used. Been there for a few years.
Yeah, I have seen that online.
But we're going to take a look a wee bit more about how to use it with members of the public and community groups. And so I think this is another podcast once we get it in place and we can talk about it a wee bit more freely than that one.
Absolutely, definitely. I think that sounds like an absolutely fantastic space, and like you say, once it's fully up and running, I think there definitely needs to be a podcast about it. There needs to be some video footage of what's going on in there. We'll go the full way with the whole lot, and we'll get lots of out about it, because I think it's something that definitely sounds like we need to shout about from the rooftops.
The other one that we're going to want to shout about once we get it up and running as well is our third room, which is going to be a makerspace. If you're not, for people who maybe not too familiar with the term, I always like to say it's a bit like that advertising is at Ronseal, it does what it says on the tin. It's a space for making and a space for being creative. So we've done a little bit of work with 3D printing for the last several years. Taking them out and about, letting people see them, learning a wee bit more about them ourselves as a staff. So we're going to make some 3D printers available. There's also there's quite a move towards being a wee bit more eco about how we do things, a bit more green about how we do things. So a little bit more on the kind of mending, which means we're going to bring in some sewing machines, digital embroidery, a bit like, to me this is a wee bit like what happened in the 1990s when computers were not an everyday object that we had in our pockets or even on our desktops, often in rooms at home. And so it was a place where people could come and learn and sort of play with technology that they maybe didn't have at home. We're kind of looking at something similar here as we move into much more digital creativity. So again, until things are in play, I don't want to give away everything for that room.
Well, it does sound fantastic.
It's been a long time in the making. Again, it's one of these things we've thrown about as an idea for a long time, and thankfully we've managed to get the opportunity to explore this a wee bit further now. So I'm having some great fun just now, making some final decisions about bits of kit and ready to get them ordered and ready to go.
And that's always one of the fun parts of these, is getting to see what we can put in place and things like that sort of stuff.
I've got one new piece sitting on my desk in the library at the moment, and it's called a Make You Form box. And basically it's a vacuum former. And it's frustrating at the moment because it's in its box and I haven't had to fully unpack this and actually play with it yet. But basically the idea is that you can take objects, maybe we can print them or we can take things we've already got and put them on a kind of heated bed, and then it's like, do you remember the old OHP transparencies? It's
No.
gosh, I'm showing my age and forgetting here. those acetate things that we used to write on to show up on the wall. Just nothing pretentious.
I didn't know that was the proper name for them, but there you go. Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's a bit like those kind of sheets that get heated up and then you push it down over it so that it forms the mold around it. You can peel it back, and then we can we've got a kind of concrete-like substance that can then go in to make objects from that mold.
Right.
But my real task was this one, and I try not to let on to the bosses too much about this one. But my real task about this one is that we've got sheets that are food safe.
Right.
So look out for the chocolate chips being ordered. So that we can make chocolate bar, chocolate decorations and stuff out of these. I'm quite convinced. Joanne's actually
I can get behind that.
Yeah, our librarian Joanne, who's been on the podcast before, has also kind of got behind the idea and says, like, actually we're going to try it to make some end pieces for some of the shelves in the kids area, because again we can look at using plastics and things to kind of melt into it as well. Mm-hmm. Not the food stuffs. Just before we're not going to do those ones.
We definitely don't want to make kids eat plastic.
But we're looking at how we can reuse other materials into this to be creative, and we're going to try, as part of our learning process, we're going to try making a few bookends.
Fantastic.
Because we reckon we can do that and then get them decorated and painted and so on as well. So
yeah, that sounds all fantastic.
It's time to play.
yeah, and I think with all those plans, coupled with all the other stuff that's been completed already, it really upgrades Motherwell Library to a library build that's really set for the 21st century and as a library service going forward, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, I think it allows us. Libraries have always been about learning, and we talk about going forward, but I think it lets us link back as well. If you look at any of the Carnegie buildings, and Motherwell's one of the original Carnegie buildings, there's the Let That Be Light, and it was all about learning and developing new skills. And what we're doing, the library just people who come in, you hear people talking about how much lighter it feels inside.
Yeah.
And some of that is just down to the decor that's going in, the uplighting and so on as well. But I think it's just that, it's a vision of how we take things forward. We're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. We've still got all the books. We've still got lots of traditional library stuff. But we are starting to edge into some newer library resources as well. So I think it's a great place once we get it up, the full thing up and running. We really have a library for the 21st century here. And now it's over to make sure we get it used. And people engaging with it. And I'm just going to do that little plug that anybody who is interested in any of the stuff that I've been talking about in terms of the makerspace or the immersive room, get in touch with us.
Sure, for sure.
It helps us develop what we want to do too.
Yeah, I think it sounds like it's going to be a fantastic facility once it's all completely done, and bring some great new ideas to the library, as well as the kind of more traditional services that we've already had for a long time. And it's just great to see that investment into the library and having all these great new things for Hilary to play with, basically. So that's fantastic.
You've got to enjoy what you do at work. I always claim it. I use play in inverted commas. I'm learning.
Fantastic. Thank you, Hilary, for coming along and telling me all about all the various things that are kind of happening with the computing section, and also that what was upstairs as a computing section, which will now sounds like the most amazing area to ever have graced the library in North Lanarkshire. And I'm sure it's going to have lots of great stuff in there for people to play about with and learn at the same time when it's finally ready. So thank you for coming to
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Hi Peter, thank you for coming and talking to me about some of the upgrades and refurbishment work that's been going on at Motherwell Library recently. It's not just the kids area that's had a big makeover, and what's been happening in the kind of main area of the library too for the adults as well.
Yeah, and thank you for inviting me, Chris.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I work at Motherwell. My name's Peter, and yeah, big changes, and for the better, I think. Obviously, it takes a bit of getting used to, but I think it's looking an awful lot brighter for a start.
Yeah.
And I think the arrangement as well is, once you get your head round it, the way it's the design of it, there's been a bit of moving with the shelves, because crime usually that was the location for that previously was at the kind of back wall, but that has its own little section at the front now. It's a bit more towards the front, and then you've got the adult non-fiction, and without getting too forensic and scientific about it, but the kind of design of it is like a sun, and the shelves radiate from a centre point, which is a nice little seating area, and that goes in a kind of clockwise direction, so it's like hands of a clock as well, I feel, and it goes in a nicely alphabetical order, according to surname, of course.
Yeah.
And at the back walls, we've got all the non-fiction arranged, and right at the very back, we've got our westerns, and the horror and sci-fi, fantasy, and young adult fiction.
Yeah, and
towards the back.
And some of the shelving and things like that's been given a wee bit of a spruce up as well. They've got nice end panels and stuff like that been added to the paneling and stuff like that to make it all nice and smart and things. And some really nice, interesting features that have been added as well. And it feels a bit like as if you're kind of bringing nature in, probably a bit like you're saying with the sun kind of idea. There's some very kind of interesting kind of sort of leaf paneling and plants about the place, isn't there? What do you think of those?
Yeah, I think they're great, and I think, well, actually, I mean, they're very much appreciated at the moment, and the feedback so far from the public has been, I mean, it's wowed everybody. Everyone has had a good thing to say about it. It really takes their breath away, and I think we'll really benefit from that enormously in the winter time. You know, when there's no leaves in the trees outside, then they come in and they see that, and that cheers you up right away. And then with the brightness and the cleanliness and the neatness of the place, it just is, you know, it's superb.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that catches the eye whenever you come in. I recently kind of visited over recently for the first time. And it was just, I think the leaf panel was probably the kind of first thing I really noticed is something that, wow, I've never really kind of seen anything kind of like that before. So it was definitely something that caught my eye a little bit for sure. I
was the same. I was not expecting that at all. I thought, wow, honestly, it just really enhances the environment, you know, and I think it's really conducive, you know, to, you know, people coming in, even if they're not like sort of browsing, if they're not borrowing, if they come in and study, because we've got the nice little booths as well. Well, they're not booths as such, you know, but it's like private study areas, which are closed.
I was going to ask you a little bit about that as well, about they've introduced a variety of different seating options as well, haven't we? So we've got the kind of little booth seats that are there. You mentioned also that there's the kind of centerpiece seating too. There's lots of really interesting seating areas for folk to be able to kind of relax in as well, isn't there?
Yes, there is, definitely. No, I think it's got something for everybody, you know, and I think that is fundamental and key, you know, because there's different people coming in with different needs. You know, if they're maybe not borrowing books on that day, they're just come in for a browse, and they can sit at that centre point and take the time to leaf through whatever they've selected. Or if they're just coming in to do their own private study, then we can accommodate those people too. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, and there's also the wee kind of vending machine area as well, where they've got some
That's right. That's right.
cafe type
Nice
seating and
little
things like
area.
that for
Yeah.
that as well,
Mhm.
that people can relax into, which is really nice too.
Mhm.
Probably the other kind of major change as well is that the counters completely moved as well. It was kind of from was over at the kind of left hand side when you came in before. It's now kind of sort of front and central as you come in. It's the
Mhm.
first thing you see when you come in the main doors of the library. And it's got some fancy kind of lighting in the background of the kind of
Mhm.
backing of it, I think that
It
as well,
has.
hasn't it?
It
So
has indeed. Yeah.
do you like the new location of
I
that? Is it
I
kind
really
of working
do.
out well for the staff?
Yeah. I think it is very inviting. In fact, the thing that kind of struck me about it, and it's something that it reminded me of, was actually when you go on holiday and you've got the hotel reception
Yeah,
and you go in and right away there are people sitting
yeah,
there, and there's no like, oh, where do we go? Where do we go? You don't have
yeah,
to ask the question. It's very clear.
yeah,
Information is there. People are there behind the desk. There are faces, real people. So I think you couldn't ask for better, and it is brighter and very, very inviting. It's like a proper reception, I feel.
yeah. I do think that's probably one of the main benefits from it is,
Yeah.
like you say, as soon as you walk in the door, you are faced straight away with staff members who are there to kind of be able to kind of answer any questions you've got or point in the right direction or
Mhm.
anything like that sort of thing. So it does have I think a big benefit from kind of having that kind of front and center kind of position over kind of being rather than being at the side where
Oh,
people have to
for
kind of
sure, for
approach it
sure.
on their own. So, yeah,
Aye, there's nothing worse than walking into a place and you're thinking, oh, there's nobody here. I need to
yeah,
ask somebody, and that's just no use at all. So, no, absolutely, it's pivotal, that you've got something like that.
yeah. And it's nice to have a nice welcoming face as soon as you walk in the library, which all of our
Absolutely.
assistants at Motherwell Library have, of course.
Yes, of
So
course. Of course.
so it's a great way to invite people into the library and
Yeah,
kind of get them involved. So
I agree with you.
fantastic. Thank you very much, Peter, for coming
Oh,
along
you're
and telling
very
us a little
welcome.
bit about some of the changes to the kind of adult section of the library as well, as well as we'll find out a bit more about the kids section as well from
Yeah,
someone else later on in the podcast.
yeah, and our computers as well. Our computer suite's been moved too. Yeah,
Yeah,
so yeah,
yeah,
we've got
fantastic,
that still available.
fantastic. Thank you very much, Peter.
Oh, you're very welcome, Chris. Thank you. Lovely speaking to you.
So, hi, Kayleigh. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. This is the first time that you're on the podcast, so thank you for coming and speaking
no
to
bother
me.
at all, Chris. Yeah, first time that I've ever done it, and quite excited to give it
Yeah,
a bash and just see how we go on, see how like the conversation flow, and just
yeah.
just see how it
And
goes.
the reason why I thought you'd be a good person to come along is because obviously you work at Motherwell Library and I know you're a big fan of the new kids area there, and that's what I really want to talk to you about this morning. So the kids area is like pretty fancy over there now at Motherwell Library. It's got new seating, shelving, and interactive areas and things like that. Can you tell us a little bit about what the kids and adults will find whenever they come to visit the library?
No, of course. So first things first, since you mentioned the whole library as a whole has been refurbished. So when you first enter Motherwell Library, you'll be welcomed with a new counter, a new information desk. So that's the first thing you're going to see.
Yeah.
To the right, you have our children's section, which is new and improved. It's a big improvement from our previous children's section. So when our library members first come into the library, the first thing they're going to see, of course, ignoring the counter aside, is we've got a lovely welcome arch, which will take us into the junior section. Now, as soon as you walk through there, as I said, you've got our new and improved junior area. So in order to enter, as I said, you need to walk through the arch, and that'll take you into where all the magic happens.
Yeah.
So our young members of the library will find plenty of books to keep themselves occupied. And we've got our picture books for our young members. We've got our junior fiction, we've got non-fiction. We've got a lot of different books there. So whatever you fancy to read, whatever you enjoy, you're going to find it there. And of course, can't forget we've got all these nice hidey holes. So I'm sure the children's got to love those.
Yeah.
And we've got plenty of spaces for the children to sit, enjoy their books, just tuck away. tuck themselves away and just enjoy the reading, and see, even for the parents themselves, it's a lot of nice seating areas too that they can sit back and let the kids just enjoy the new area. As I say, it's a big improvement from before, and it's lovely. It's yeah, I don't know. It's hard to put it into words. It's just it's a lovely area.
Some of the things that I noticed straight away whenever I went across, it's like you say, they've got the kind of cubbyhole seating parts and things like that. There's also some really fancy wall shelving and things like kind of book tree shelving and things like that sort of stuff on there, which is really, really nice to see.
It's lovely. That's where we're using that at the moment for children's, like the board books. That's what we're storing. So it's, as you're saying, we've got lovely. It's like they look like wee leaves, wee trees. I've actually forgot to mention this. We've got lovely. It's like little toadstool seats that are dotted about as well, and it's lovely. I say, if you haven't came to the library already, for anyone that was listening, you should definitely pop in just to have a look at it itself. It's something else altogether. Just it's lovely. It really is. I think we're all quite not in shock, but with how nice it, seeing it from
it's just very impressive, isn't it? It's like it really does kind of catch your eye.
It really is, and it's seeing it from what it looked like on paper to actually seeing it in person. It's amazing. It really is.
It's funny you say that because I remember I saw the kind of the screenshots, the company that the design, which I can't remember. I think it's called Book Space. I think hopefully I'm getting that right. And they put some screenshots on Twitter of what it was going to look like, and whenever I saw that, I thought, wow, surely this can't be what we're going to get, because this looks fantastic.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then obviously whenever I went across it, it was almost kind of perfectly aligned with what they had put out, and it was exactly what they had put out, and it's fantastic stuff.
As you said, to see going from what we've seen on the photos, or the idea that they had behind it all, to actually see it in real life in person, to the exact pretty much of what they imagined, what they pictured. It's amazing. It really is what we've now got for our customers.
And is there any kind of one part of it that you would say is your favourite part of the whole new area that we've got for kids?
No.
I know it's quite a hard one to pick because there's so many great little bits of it. So anything you can think is your favourite?
Well, favourite part of the area as a whole, I've got two areas I would probably say it's probably my favourite. First would be like wee hidey holes, what did you call them? Sorry, Chris. This is
sort of a kind of cubby hole type
thing.
Hole,
That I like those because I've noticed actually a few children hiding away in there with a good book. They're just sitting back enjoying a book. It's a perfect place if you're just wanting a wee bit of peace and quiet. Just tuck yourself in. That's a really good area, because when I was younger I used to love that myself, just hiding away, just reading a good book. So I can definitely relate to that. And also the tree seating that we've got, it's like a lovely little tree. It's in the heart of I would say the children's section. That's lovely. It's where that's located, as I said, it's in the middle, I would say, of the junior section, and surrounding it is our junior fiction. It's just, I don't know, it's just something that's lovely. It's that I would say those are probably my favourite wee areas of the junior section.
That kind of tree bit that you're talking about is kind of basically like the kind of centrepiece of the whole thing, isn't it? And it is probably, I think it's probably the thing that will catch most people's eye whenever they do walk in, because it is it's quite a big structure, and it's kind of just a really interesting feature, and it's got kind of a surround seating at the bottom for people to kind of sit and relax in. And like you say, it's surrounded by the shelves and stuff, so it's kind of sort of a wee kind of bit of an enclosed area for kind of pick a book, sit down and have a wee kind of look at it while you kind of.
Unique. Do you know? It's just something else altogether. It's totally different. It's different from anything I've ever seen before. But no, they would probably be my favourite areas. And as I say, the children love. From what we've been able to see, the children love the little the areas that I've mentioned. You see the kids going in, they just go and hide away. They're all excited. They love it. They really do. It's nice to see our young members of the library loving it. just as much as the parents, of course, as well. So
Yeah. I think if I was to try and pick a favourite part of it, I think
Mhm.
one of the things that I really noticed was the kind of bit of almost like a sensory wall where it's got
Yeah.
like a little square of carpet on the wall, and then there's that kind of like it's almost like fake grass or something like that,
Yep.
and there's some beads and stuff like that to play with, and I think there's like a spongy bit near the bottom and
Yeah,
things like that
we've
sort of
got that
stuff.
as well.
And
Mhm.
and it's just kind of a nice wee idea of having that kind of like wee kind of like touchy-feely kind of thing that you kind of see in some kind of picture books and stuff like that. It was almost like kind of bringing those kind of picture book features out onto a kind of wall in the library, you know?
I know on a larger scale. It's
Yeah.
I see we've seen children using that, and it's nice that we've got, you know, these things here for the children to come along. And as you're saying, if they've went from feeling it in their book to actually having it on a wall, like a bigger space, it's lovely, really
And
is.
it just makes the library that little bit more interesting for
It does.
kids to come along to and visit. Do you know, it's not just the kind of racks of books on a shelf. You know,
No,
there
definitely
it is a kind of fun area for them to be in
not.
and visit.
Definitely. Mhm.
Has there been much kind of positive feedback
Oh,
from customers and things like that from when
well,
they're visiting?
now that you mention it, we have, well, all we've had is positive feedback. I'm not even kidding. I've yet to hear, and I hope I don't, any negative feedback. All we've had from both the children and the parents is good feedback. As I say, that's both parents, guarantors, and the children have been raving about the area. Honestly, they love it. We've also had customers that we actually haven't seen in the library since pre-pandemic time, who haven't used the library in years, and they're actually excited the fact that they've came back. They've heard about it from our social media accounts that we've got a new and improved children's section. They've came back and they're amazed with this new children's section. They've came back to this beautiful library, and they're now using the library again, which is great to see our old customers coming back again. And we've also got a lot of new families joining up to become members, which has been great. Again, definitely since we've put it out on social media, we've had so many people want to join up. We've had people even just popping in off the street just to have a wee nosy, which is great because the more people we get in to have a look at it, the better. So it's definitely, I think words got out. Word of mouth got out, and we've had a lot of people just coming in, having a look. And through that, we've had new members of the library join, which has been even better. So it's been overall positive feedback has been, people are impressed. They love it. They really like it.
Like say, whenever we put the photos out on social media, we even had a super famous person who was impressed with it because we had Janie Godley retweeted our post about it, which I got extremely excited about. But so I mean, I think everyone can kind of just see the kind of the benefits of having such a great kids area in the library. And I was over recently kind of doing a little bit of filming of the whole of the kind of changes in Motherwell. And while I was there, I had actually just heard people coming in and with their kind of family, and I overheard a dad kind of saying like, wow, this is just such an inspirational place for kids to come and read. And it was such a great kind of wee like thing to overhear, like somebody kind of getting the whole point of what we're trying to achieve with that area is, and make it such an inspiring place for kids to come and enjoy reading and get into reading and things like that. So it's great that it's kind of the whole point of it is kind of getting across, and it means that it works. The idea behind it all is working.
It gives you, I don't know about you, but it gives me sort of the best way to describe it is like you get a kind of buzz from it. It's like, oh, people really do like what we've done, and they appreciate the work and the time that's been put into it, and it's all for them. At the end of the day, it's all for our customers and our young people, our future generation that are going to be using this space. It's So as I said, overall, very positive feedback, which is always nice to hear. So can't complain there.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just been it's been really well designed, and it's designed in quite an interactive way, like we said, with the tiered seating and sensory wall, the tree seating and things like that. You see, it has been a really great space for like future kids activities to take place and things like that as well going forward.
Definitely. Just when you mentioned kids activities as a whole, obviously once our book bug eventually starts back up again, I think that'll be a great the children's area will be a great area. We've got more space compared to beforehand, so I think it'll be great that we'll have a designated area for like our children's activities. on top of like children's crafts and whatnot alongside that as well. So as I said, we've got more space than beforehand, which will welcome even more children into the library, hopefully. So hopefully we'll be able to have bigger classes, bigger groups as well. Sorry, what were you going to say there, Chris?
Even when you're mentioning about BookBug, there's even like dedicated buggy parking and things like that, and the place as well.
So we've got that, so you don't need to worry about where you put your buggies. We've got a designated area. It's even marked up in the wall where it all needs to go. So yeah, everything's all sorted there, and on top of that,
it's like every little thing that you could possibly think of has been thought of,
it's all there.
To kind of being included for everyone to benefit from.
All the little details, everything's all there. But definitely, I think for future activities, it'll be a great area. Even this is just kind of not an activity as such. It's just something on the side. Between us, the staff, we were all actually talking. The little tree that we're talking about in the middle in the seating area. We're talking about for Halloween time. That might be a nice wee area for us to even decorate as well.
Well, that's the thing.
We were actually talking about that, having like cobwebs, spiders thing. Like just it's as a whole, we've now got that opportunity. We can do that for the children now as well. It's just little things like that. It's as I said, as a whole, the junior area has opened up so much more opportunities for us, which is it's great.
It inspires the kids coming in, but it's also giving you guys kind of inspiration for ways you can kind of promote things better for the kids and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Aren't we all? Let's face it. I mean, who doesn't love kind of working in the children's library and getting lost in the kind of Halloween spirit and Christmas spirit and things like that when these things come around? It's one of the joys of working in the library whenever you have to craft a paper spider to hang on the wall.
Honestly, it's the little things in life that make you happiest, and that definitely.
So just to clear out that, is there any one part you think is going to be the thing that really impresses people when they visit, whenever they come in? What would you think is the most impressive part for you?
Chris, if I'm being honest with you, I actually think all of it. I'm not being full of myself. Like, honestly, I think as soon as you walk in, I'd like to think you're going to be impressed with it all. It's just because it's so different from what we had beforehand. It's just completely different. And do you know what, as I had mentioned earlier on, it's just for the customer knowing in how much, the time and effort's been put into making it such a great space for our future generation as well. It's just, I just hope that people know that it's all for them. This has all been done for them. It's for future generation, for the children. I definitely think they'll be impressed with it all. And as I said, with all the wee hidey holes for our children to go to, and just I don't know. It's as a whole, I think it should impress our customers. I really do. I really hope people like what they see.
I'm pretty sure it will. And obviously our listeners to the podcast here have heard how much you love it and how much I love it.
Yes.
But while I was over filming, I also had the chance to catch up with one of our customers who was one of the kids who were in the library at the time, Jonas, who claims he was the first boy to be in the library and in the section. He said he got allowed in the day before it was officially opened, and he let me hear some of his thoughts as well, which we're going to hear next in the podcast. But thank you for coming and talking to me, Kayleigh, and it's great to kind of have your thoughts on the new kids section at Motherwell.
No bother at all.
And we'll hear now from Jonas to see what he thought of the kids area. So, hi Jonas, thank you for talking to me and coming to our podcast and speaking to me about the Motherwell Library and this fantastic kids area that we're sitting in just now. You, I believe, were the first person in here, is that right?
Yeah.
And you got a wee sneak peek even before it got opened for everyone else, is that right?
Yeah.
How did you manage that? How did you manage to sneak in?
There was a man up there and he was like standing and I was looking at it and with my mum and the man letting me go down and have a look.
Have a wee sneak peek, fantastic. And what do you think of it? Do you think it's fantastic?
Yeah.
What do you like most about it? What's some of your favourite bits?
I like the wee round circle down the back, and I like this bit, and I like the wee pulls
The
over there.
little ducats. Yeah, there's lots of lovely things. So there's like kind of a comfy kind of seating, cubby hole type things, isn't there? And there's lots of comfy seating round about here, and it's sort of stacked seating and stuff for everyone to kind of relax on while they're reading books. So it's really fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
And have you been doing the summer reading challenge this year, Jonas? How are you getting on? How many books have you read so far?
I've read Spotlight in the World Cup.
Fantastic.
I've read Who Will Win the Cup. I've read Football Factor, Safekeeping, Football Factor, Tough Tackling, and I've read, what was the last one?
I'm guessing you're a bit of a football fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too. I like football too. And so you've been enjoying the library to get some books about football, and have you enjoyed doing the summer reading challenge so far?
Yeah.
What prizes have you got so far?
None.
You've not got any prizes? Do you not get prizes as you read a few books each time?
No.
You should have done. Like kind of maybe like a pencil and some stickers and stuff like that.
Yeah, we didn't get a pencil. We got like a wee bookmark, and we got like these stickers, and you're supposed to put them on top of the it's a sticker, and it looks the same in the book, and you stick it right on the top of it. And you got two of them, and it was like, and it went like, and they were stuck together, and you had to like peel them off and stick them on the same place what it looked on the wee reading book.
On the booklet, fantastic. Yeah. Now, do you think that all the other boys and girls in Motherwell should come and visit this library and see this fantastic new kids area?
Yeah.
So there you go. Jonas recommends coming along and seeing this area in the library. It is brand new and it looks fantastic, and Jonas loves it, and I love it too. I think it's fantastic, and everyone should definitely come along to see it. Thank you for talking to me, Jonas, and tell me all about what you thought of the new library and how you've been doing with the summer reading challenge. And I hope you enjoyed reading some more football books.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for coming along and chatting to me, especially Jonas. I was very excited to meet him in the library while I was over there filming, and he really seemed really quite excited about the new section of the library, as I think most kids will be whenever they come and visit. It's a great area for the kids to come to, and the whole project has made Motherwell Library a fantastic place. I used to work in Motherwell Library, and it has just transformed it into the next level. It is really amazing, and you do need to get yourself along to have a look at it if you haven't done so already. I mean, even Janie Godley likes it, so who if you don't think that's praise enough, then I don't know who would. But all joking aside, it is fantastic, and you will really like it if you do come along. So we service update things for you guys as well. We have got some exciting things happening in our libraries. Our photography competition has now closed for entries. However, we are now in the process of putting together the ebook, which will go out on World Photography Day, which date I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but it's not far away. It's in the middle of this month. And we are also in the midst of doing some live streams as well for the Edinburgh Book Festival. You can catch some of them at Coatbridge Library as well, and that's very, very exciting. So do try and catch some of them. You can book to come along to one of those live streams for free and come along and watch the events with other book lovers in the library as well. And you can do that for free by just going along to Coatbridge Library, or calling them or dropping them a wee email and book a free spot for that. So that's very exciting stuff as well. There's lots and lots of great stuff happening in the libraries as always. Do check out our What's On section of our website on www.culturenail.co.uk, and you can find out everything that's going on in libraries on there. So it's very, very exciting times. And but that's all from me for now, guys. Do watch out for future episodes coming soon. There will be another Bees Books edition coming next week, and we'll be back again with the main podcast again soon as well. And we will catch you all again soon.